The ship drifted through the quiet dark of space, its silver hull marked by scars of many battles. Inside, Commander Tarek of the Xynari Empire sat alone in his quarters. The room was dimly lit, and the only sound was the slow hum of the ship's life support system. His four-fingered hand trembled slightly as he held a small hollow crystal. The image inside flickered, human soldiers standing tall in the ashes of a ruined city. Tarek's breath came shallow. Even after 20 years, the memories refused to fade. He was a veteran of the Orion War, a conflict that had united 5 alien species against one small, fragile-looking race, humans. No one had expected the humans to fight back the way they did. The Xynari, tall and scaled with advanced energy weapons, had assumed it would be an easy victory. But Tarek had seen things on Earth that no soldier should ever see. Things that made his blood turn cold. He closed his eyes. The images came uninvited. Humans in shattered armor, carrying wounded comrades while still firing at enemy lines. Cities burning, yet humans refusing to surrender. Their faces covered in dirt, their eyes filled not with fear but something else. Something unbroken. Years had passed since then. Tarek now served as a patrol commander on the border of Xynari space. Officially, the war was over. Peace had been signed. But in his mind, the war had never truly ended. That night, his ship received a transmission from the Galactic Alliance Command. Commander Tarek, report to the central station immediately. Priority 1 mission. He sighed and stood, his scaled armor plates clicking softly. Another mission, he muttered. Another reminder. When he entered the command deck, his second officer, Lieutenant Vora, saluted sharply. Commander, coordinates received. It's on the edge of human-controlled territory. Tarek froze. Human space? His voice was calm, but his eyes narrowed. Yes, sir, Vora said. A distress signal from a research outpost on Delta 9. Mixed crew, human and alien scientists. For a long moment, Tarek said nothing. The memory of human cities, the roar of their fighter jets, the glow of nuclear fire, all returned to him like a storm. He wanted to refuse. He wanted to stay away from anything that reminded him of humans, but orders were orders. Set course for Delta 9, he said finally. The journey took several hours. As the ship glided through the star field, Tarek stood at the observation window. He remembered the first time he saw Earth. It had looked so small, so fragile, a blue pearl hanging in black space. He had thought victory would be easy. He had been wrong. On Earth, he had led the 9th Xynari Regiment into battle near a place the humans called New Delhi. The city had been destroyed already, yet humans fought street by street. They used everything, vehicles, rubble, even broken glass, as weapons. Tarek had lost half his regiment in a single night. He remembered the human commander, a woman named Captain Rachel Pierce. She had led a handful of soldiers through chaos, refusing to surrender even when surrounded. Tarek could still hear her final message over the comms. You can burn our cities, alien, but you'll never burn what makes us human. Those words haunted him. The ship arrived at Delta 9, a barren moon with a thin atmosphere. The research outpost floated near a crater, its lights flickering weakly. The distress signal was still active. Scanners show life signs, Vora reported. Mostly human, some Xynari, and 2 Varnak scientists. Tarek nodded. Prepare a landing team. We'll investigate. The team descended in a shuttle, landing near the damaged facility. The air smelled of burnt metal. Broken panels and cables lay scattered across the rocky surface. Tarek's boots crunched against the dust as he stepped out, his hand resting on his plasma rifle. Inside the base, the lights flickered on and off. The hallways were silent except for the soft echo of their footsteps. Then came a faint noise, a human voice. Help, over here. The team rushed forward and found a group of survivors. A human woman in a torn uniform looked up at Tarek with tired eyes. Thank the stars, she whispered. We thought no one would come. Tarek knelt beside her. What happened? Pirates, she said weakly. They attacked 2 days ago. Took our supplies, destroyed communications. Some of us hid in the maintenance sector. Her voice was shaking, but her eyes, those eyes were steady, determined, just like the humans he remembered from the war. Tarek ordered medical drones to assist the wounded. As the team secured the area, he looked around. Laser burns marked the walls. Bullet holes covered the floors. The humans had fought back, even without heavy weapons. He felt that same uneasy respect rising again. Even cornered, even dying, humans fought like no other species. Later, as repairs began, Tarek walked through the ruined halls. He found a wall covered with photos and notes. The scientists had written small messages of hope, research goals, family pictures, dreams of peaceful cooperation. He touched one of the photos. A young human boy smiling beside a small robotic pet. Something in his chest tightened. "Commander," Vora's voice came through the comm. "We found the attacker's ship wrecked nearby. It looks like the humans destroyed it before we arrived." Tarek turned slowly. "Destroyed it? How?" "They overloaded the reactor manually. Suicide tactic." Tarek stared at the flickering light on the wall. The same determination, the same fire. Humans never changed. As night fell over the dusty moon, Tarek stood outside the outpost staring at the stars. The human survivors were repairing what they could. One of them, a young engineer named Lena, approached him. "You're Zenari, right?" "I heard about the Orion War," she said quietly. "You fought against us." Tarek hesitated. "Yes, I did." She looked at him, but there was no anger in her eyes. Only sadness. "My grandfather was in that war. He said he respected your people. He said even enemies can learn from each other." Her words struck something deep inside Tarek. He looked at her, then at the stars above. "Your grandfather was wise," he said softly. Lena smiled faintly and walked away, leaving him alone with his thoughts. Back on the ship, Tarek couldn't sleep. The memories kept coming. Burning cities, screaming skies, and human eyes full of defiance. He thought of Captain Rachel Pierce again, of her voice on the comm before the final blast. He had always believed the Zenari were stronger, smarter, more disciplined. But humans had something else, something terrifying and beautiful. They had will. As the ship prepared to depart from Delta 9, Tarek stood at the viewport again. He had come to rescue survivors, but it felt as if he had rescued a part of himself. The part that once believed in honor, courage, and respect. Yet deep inside, a small fear grew stronger. He whispered to himself, "If the humans ever turn that will against the galaxy again, no one will survive." The stars reflected in his eyes, cold and endless. The war might have ended, but for Commander Tarek, the ghosts of humanity still walked beside him. Commander Tarek's ship, the Veil of Dawn, drifted through deep space, heading toward the Galactic Alliance's main command station. The stars stretched into long lines as the ship entered faster than light travel, and the familiar hum of the engines filled the silence. Tarek stood in the observation deck again, staring at the blue swirl of hyperspace. He could still see the human faces from Delta 9, the tired but determined survivors repairing their station, even after everything they had suffered. He had tried to sleep after the mission, but rest never came. The ghosts of war followed him everywhere, the cries, the flames, the courage of those who refused to kneel. Humans were different. Their strength was not in their weapons, but in their hearts. A soft voice interrupted his thoughts. "Commander," said Lieutenant Vora, entering quietly. "Alliance Command has sent the next assignment." Tarek turned, his eyes calm but weary. "Already?" "Yes, sir," Vora said. "They want you to attend a joint investigation with human officers." A derelict station was found near the border of human and Zenari space. "They think it's connected to the old war." Tarek's eyes narrowed. "A human-Zenari joint operation?" "Yes, Commander." Tarek's claws tapped softly against the metallic rail. A part of him wanted to refuse. He had fought against humans, not beside them. But another part, the one that remembered the look in that young engineer Lena's eyes, whispered that maybe it was time to face the past. He nodded slowly. Set course for the derelict station. The derelict 2 days later, the Veil of Dawn arrived at the location. The derelict station floated near a dying star, its metal shell broken and lifeless. The once shining emblem of the Galactic Alliance was burned black. Tarek looked at the screen. "It's ancient," he said. "This station was abandoned decades ago. Scanners detect faint power," Vora reported. "And human life signs. Probably their investigation team." "Open a channel," Tarek ordered. A moment later, a face appeared on the holoscreen. A human officer with short brown hair and sharp eyes. "This is Captain Elias Trent, United Earth Command." "Identify yourself." "Tarek of the Zenari Empire," he replied. "We're here under Alliance orders to assist your investigation." The human studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Understood, Commander." We can use the help. Docking Bay 2 is clear. The channel closed. Tarek exhaled slowly. Prepare a landing team. When they boarded the station, the air was stale and heavy. Dim emergency lights flickered, casting long shadows across the narrow corridors. Tarek's boots echoed softly as he walked beside Captain Trent. The human was quiet but confident, his uniform neatly kept despite the dust and damage around them. Strange place, Tarek said. Trent nodded. This was one of our early research stations. It vanished during the Orion War. No one ever found it until now. As they moved deeper inside, strange markings appeared on the walls. Scorch marks, impact dents, and claw scratches. Vora scanned them. These are Zenari weapon marks, she said slowly. Tarek froze. From our side? Seems like it, Trent said, looking at him. Maybe a forgotten battle? Tarek's chest tightened. He could almost hear the echoes of gunfire, smell the burnt air. The thought that his own people might have destroyed this place made him uneasy. They reached the central chamber, where a massive door blocked their way. The symbols above it were written in both human standard and Zenari glyphs. Trent ran his gloved fingers across the markings. A joint project? Tarek nodded slowly. Before the war, humans and Zenari scientists worked together. Energy experiments, weapon research. I didn't think any of that survived. The door opened with a low hiss. Inside was a huge lab filled with broken machines and shattered screens. But in the middle stood a large glass capsule, cracked but still glowing faintly. Inside, something moved. Trent stepped closer. What is that? Tarek squinted. It looks alive. The being inside looked humanoid, but its skin shifted between colors. It had the frame of a human, but the eyes of a Zenari. A hybrid, Vora gasped. Commander, this is impossible. Trent turned sharply. You're saying this is part human, part Zenari? Tarek didn't answer. He stared at the creature, memories flooding back. During the war, both sides had secretly worked on biological experiments to create super soldiers. He had heard rumors, but seeing proof made his scales crawl. The hybrid's eyes opened. For a moment, silence filled the lab. Then it spoke in a calm but haunting voice. You came back. Tarek took a step back. Who are you? I am the last project. The weapon neither side wanted to finish. Trent frowned. You've been here all this time? For years, the hybrid said. I was made to end the war, but the war ended before I was born. So they abandoned me. The voice carried no hatred, only sadness. Tarek felt a strange guilt stir inside him. The thought that his people, and the humans, had created such a thing during their madness was deeply disturbing. The hybrid continued. But I remember the screams, the data logs, the images of human firestorms. Even without living it, I can feel it in my memory. Its eyes, glowing faintly, turned toward Tarek. You were there, weren't you? You saw what humans did. Tarek's throat tightened. Yes, then you understand. You understand why they terrify me. Before Tarek could answer, the station shook violently. Alarms flared. Commander! Vora shouted through her comm. Unknown ships inbound. Pirates, no wait, human mercenaries. Trent cursed. They must have tracked our signal. Tarek's instincts took over. Seal the lab. Prepare for defense. Trent drew his weapon. You heard him, move. As the crew took positions, Tarek felt the old battle energy return, the same kind he thought he had buried decades ago. He watched the humans around him, calm and focused under pressure. No panic, no fear, only resolve. The doors exploded inward and mercenaries poured in. Tarek and Trent fired side by side. The air filled with bright flashes and smoke. Even as bullets and plasma bolts flew, Tarek noticed something strange. The human soldiers from Trent's team never retreated. They covered each other, fought in silence, their movements sharp and perfect. When one fell, two more stepped forward. When outnumbered, they pushed harder. The hybrid inside the glass watched them with wide eyes. Still the same, it whispered. Still unstoppable. After several intense minutes, the attackers retreated. Smoke filled the corridor and silence returned. Tarek looked around. A few wounded, but no one had run. The humans had stood their ground like stone. Trent reloaded calmly. You fight well, Commander. You too, Tarek replied, almost smiling. Perhaps too well. Trent looked at him curiously. Too well? Tarek stared at the smoking corridor. Humans never stop. Even when reason says they should. That is your strength and your danger. Trent said nothing, but in his eyes there was understanding. Later, when the emergency had passed, Tarek stood once more before the hybrid. Now you see, the being said quietly. Humans may look soft, but their will is harder than any metal. Tarek nodded slowly. I learned that long ago, but seeing it again, it still shakes me. The hybrid tilted its head. Does it frighten you? Tarek hesitated. Yes, and it humbles me. For the first time, the hybrid smiled faintly. Then maybe there is hope for both our kinds. As the human and Zinari crews repaired the station together, something changed in Tarek's heart. The hatred and fear he once carried began to fade, replaced by a quiet respect. He looked at the humans, laughing softly while patching broken wires, their faces tired but full of life. He thought of Captain Rachel Pierce of Lena on Delta 9, and now of Captain Trent. Different humans, same fire, the fire that never dies. When he returned to his ship, he looked back one last time at the station floating among the stars. Perhaps, he whispered, the galaxy still has much to learn from them, but deep down, a part of him still trembled, because he knew if that human fire ever turned toward conquest again, nothing could stop it. And he, a veteran who had faced them once, could only pray he would never face them again. The stars glowed faintly outside the window of the Veil of Dawn, as Commander Tarek sat alone in his quarters once again. He had been back aboard for 2 days, yet his mind still lingered on the derelict station, the battle, the hybrid, and the strange cooperation with the human captain Elias Trent. The humans had left a strong mark on him. They had fought with discipline, courage, and a strange kind of unity that he still struggled to understand. For decades he had believed the humans were reckless, driven only by emotion, but now he was beginning to see that their emotions were not weakness, they were strength. The soft hiss of the door pulled him from his thoughts. It was Lieutenant Vora. Commander, she said quietly, Alliance Command wants a full report on the mission. They also requested that both you and Captain Trent attend a private debriefing at Station Helios. Tarek frowned. Private debriefing? That is unusual. Yes, sir, Vora said. They want no recording devices, no crew, no assistants. Tarek looked out the window again. Something about this felt wrong. A secret meeting usually meant someone wanted to hide something. Still, he nodded. Prepare the ship. We leave at once. Station Helios Station. Helios hung in orbit above a quiet red star, far from trade routes or military lines. It was not a place for visitors. Its silver structure reflected no light, and its defense turrets tracked every approaching ship with cold precision. When the Veil of Dawn docked, Tarek stepped out to find Captain Trent already waiting for him. The human looked as tired as he felt, though his posture remained sharp. Commander? Trent greeted. Looks like we're both being called to answer questions. Perhaps not just questions, Tarek replied. Perhaps explanations. Together they followed 2 Alliance guards through long, silent corridors. The walls of Helios were made of black alloy, smooth and cold to the touch. Finally, they entered a circular room with a large hollow table at the center. 3 figures waited there. 1 human admiral, 1 Zinari High Counselor, and 1 Varnak intelligence officer. Commander Tarek. Captain Trent, the admiral said. Thank you for coming. Tarek gave a small bow. We serve as ordered. The admiral nodded, then activated the hollow table. A flickering image appeared. The hybrid they had found on the derelict station. Trent's eyes narrowed. You've already taken it? Yes, the admiral said simply. The subject is secure here at Helios. Its existence is classified. Tarek crossed his arms. Classified? That being was alive, self-aware. Why hide it? The Varnak officer spoke next, his voice calm but cold. Because it is proof of what the humans and Zinari once created, and what we may have to create again. Both Tarek and Trent stared at him. Again? Trent said sharply. You're talking about restarting those experiments? The counselor's golden eyes flickered. The galaxy is not at peace. There are rumors of new powers rising. We need weapons that can defend the Alliance. Weapons that combine the best of every species. Tarek's scales tightened. That is madness. The war began because of fear and pride. You would repeat it? The admiral looked at him with a calm, almost sad expression. You saw what humans can do, Commander. You of all beings know what happens when they fight. Now imagine if that power could be guided, controlled, enhanced. Trent slammed his hand on the table. You can't control it. You can't control humanity's will.
We're not machines.
The room fell silent. The Admiral looked away, saying nothing. Tarek turned toward Trent slowly. Captain, they are not asking to control it. They are asking to use it. The warning after the meeting, Tarek and Trent walked through the long hallways in silence. The air felt heavier now. Trent finally spoke. They're afraid. That's what this is about. They want to build something that can scare the next enemy before the fight even starts. Tarek nodded slowly. Fear leads to destruction. It always has. They reached the docking bay, but before boarding their ships, Trent stopped him. Commander, I need a favor. Tarek raised a brow. A favor? Yes, I want access to the old Orion war records and the ones the Zainari kept sealed. I think this hybrid isn't the first attempt. I think there were others. Tarek hesitated. Those records were forbidden, hidden deep within the Empire's archives. But the doubt in his heart was stronger than loyalty. I will see what I can do. The Lost Archive 3 days later, the Veil of Dawn arrived at the edge of Zainari space, near a forgotten moon that housed an old military vault. The base had been abandoned after the war, its gates sealed under orders of silence. Vora looked uneasy as she prepared the landing shuttle. Commander, if anyone discovers we entered this site, it could mean exile. Tarek's eyes were steady. Then let us hope no one finds out. The vault's doors opened with a deep groan, revealing endless corridors filled with old data crystals and war relics. Dust covered everything. He walked slowly, his claws echoing softly against the metal floor. The smell of time and rust hung in the air. Finally, he reached the main archive terminal. He inserted his access code, one he should have forgotten long ago, and the screens came to life. The blue light reflected off his scaled face. Rows of old files appeared. Project names, battle records, secret reports. Then he saw it. Project Genesis Flame. His heart tightened. That was the code name for the human Zinari hybrid program. He opened the file. Images and reports flashed before him. Scientists from both species working together. Test chambers filled with strange energies. Soldiers volunteering for unknown experiments. And then, one video feed caught his eye. It showed a human scientist recording a message. Her name was Dr. Rachel Pierce. Tarek froze. The same name as the human commander he had fought during the war. If anyone finds this, she said, her voice tired, know that we tried to stop it. The project was not meant to create monsters. It was meant to understand what makes humans survive. The Zinari called it the flame. We call it the human will. It burns through pain, fear, and logic. It is both a gift and a curse, the recording flickered. The flame cannot be controlled. We learned that too late. Whatever you do, don't let them use it again. The screen went black. Tarek stood still, the words echoing in his mind. The flame. Humans didn't fight because of weapons or training. They fought because of something deep within. Something even science couldn't explain. The message he returned to his ship and immediately contacted Captain Trent through a private channel. I found something, Tarek said. Your guess was correct. There were many hybrid attempts. But the real secret isn't the hybrids. It's the human will itself. The scientists tried to study it. They called it the flame, Trent frowned. And what did they find? That it cannot be controlled, Tarek said softly. Only awakened. Trent fell silent. Then he said, if the Alliance is trying to rebuild that project, they'll start with the hybrid. We can't let them. Tarek nodded. Agreed. But we cannot fight the Alliance directly. We need proof, enough to expose them. Then we get it, Trent said. Together. For the first time since the war, a Zinari and a human stood united by the same cause. Not for conquest or survival, but to stop a mistake from repeating. The return of the flame later that night, Tarek stood once again before the viewport, the stars shining cold and distant. He thought about Dr. Pierce, about Lena, about all the humans he had met. Every one of them carried that same fire, the flame that refused to die. He whispered to himself, perhaps that is what makes them unstoppable. They are not the strongest or the smartest, but they never surrender. Vora entered quietly. Commander, are we really going against the Alliance? Tarek looked at her with calm eyes. We are not against the Alliance. We are against repeating the past. She nodded slowly. And if they come after us? He turned back to the stars. Then we will do what humans do. Vora tilted her head. And what is that? Tarek gave a faint, almost sad smile. We fight, until we can't anymore. The ship's engines ignited and the veil of dawn turned toward the direction of Station Helios. Somewhere out there, the hybrid waited, and the truth burned brighter than ever. The cold light of distant stars shimmered across the hull of the Veil of Dawn as Commander Tarek prepared his ship for a secret mission. The quiet hum of the engines filled the air like a whisper of war. Every system was running in stealth mode. No signals, no beacons, no transmissions. His crew moved silently, aware that this mission could destroy them all. Lieutenant Vora stood by his side. Commander, we're entering restricted space. Once we cross the next marker, Helios Station will detect us. Not if we move carefully, Tarek replied, his tone calm but sharp. Activate the shadow field. The ship shimmered, fading into the darkness like a ghost. Vora looked uneasy. Commander, are we sure about this? The Alliance will call us traitors if they find out. Tarek's eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. Perhaps, but if we do nothing, the galaxy will repeat the same war that almost destroyed us all. He thought about Captain Elias Trent, the human officer he now trusted more than many of his own kind. They had fought side by side on the derelict station. They had seen the truth buried under years of silence, and now they were both heading into the heart of danger, to Helios, where the hybrid was being kept. The plan hours later, the communication console blinked softly. A secure message arrived. It was Trent. His holographic image flickered above the table. Tarek, my team is ready. We'll enter through the southern dock. You go through maintenance. Once we meet in the core section, we'll extract the hybrid. Tarek nodded. Understood. No unnecessary violence. We do this quietly. Trent smiled faintly. Quiet is not usually our way, Commander. Tarek allowed a small smile in return. Then perhaps we learn from each other. The channel closed. The infiltration Helios station loomed ahead, a black metal giant floating in silence. Bright defense lights circled it like eyes that never slept. The station was surrounded by heavy turrets and scanners, but the veil of dawn glided beneath the sensor range and attached to the maintenance. Ringui, a place long forgotten by guards. Demira. Airlock opened with a soft hiss. Tarek and Vora stepped into the narrow corridors, their armor blending with the shadows. The smell of oil and ozone filled the air. Movement detected ahead, Vora whispered, scanning with her visor. Tarek nodded. Stay low. No noise. They passed through several halls, avoiding patrols and cameras. Every sound echoed softly, the hum of engines, the distant hiss of air vents. Finally, they reached a large security door labeled Biolab Sector 9. This must be it, Vora said. Tarek placed his hand on the scanner. The lock resisted, but his old command code still worked. The door opened slowly. Inside, the lab was cold and quiet. Glass chambers lined the walls, some empty, some filled with broken machines. In the center of the room stood the same capsule that had once held the hybrid. It was empty. The missing hybrid Tarek froze. No, Vora checked the scanners. Commander, the hybrid isn't here. The records show it was moved to another level 3 hours ago. Moved where? She read the data carefully. Level 0, Central Core, Experimental Division. Tarek's eyes narrowed. The Central Core was the most secure part of Helios, where only the highest officers were allowed. Before he could respond, his comm buzzed softly. It was Trent again. Commander, change of plan. They're moving the hybrid to Transport Bay 1. I can intercept them, but I'll need backup. Tarek's voice hardened. We're on our way. The chase. The corridors of Helios thundered with alarm lights as Tarek and Vora ran through them. Guards appeared at every corner, shouting orders. Security breach in Sector 7. Stop them! Tarek fired his plasma rifle, stunning the guards but not killing them. He didn't want blood and only answers. They reached the elevator shaft. Vora hacked the control panel, sparks flying as doors opened. Down to Bay 1! As they descended, Tarek's mind raced. If the Alliance truly planned to awaken the flame, that unstoppable human will, through the hybrid, it could lead to something worse than war. It could end everything. When the doors opened, they stepped into chaos. The confrontation Transport Bay 1 was massive, filled with large containers, ships, and workers frozen in panic. In the center, Alliance soldiers surrounded a floating stasis pod. Inside it, the hybrid lay unconscious. Captain Trent and his small human team were hiding behind cargo crates, exchanging quiet signals. Tarek and Vora joined them silently. Trent nodded. "They're transferring the hybrid to a ship heading for Earth. We can't let that happen." Tarek looked at the pod. "We can disable the grav unit. When it drops, we move in fast," Trent smiled. "Just like old times." Tarek took a deep breath. "Let us hope it ends better than old times." At his signal, Vora fired a short pulse into the ceiling lights, plunging the room into shadow. Sirens screamed as the grav unit flickered and the pod dropped to the floor with a crash. "Now!" Trent shouted. They rushed forward, firing stun rounds and flash grenades. The guards fell back, blinded and confused. In the smoke and chaos, Tarek reached the pod. He pressed the release panel. The glass cover opened and the hybrid's eyes flickered awake, glowing with strange light. "You came for me," it whispered weakly. "Yes," Tarek said. "We're getting you out." But before they could move, a calm voice echoed through the bay. "You are making a mistake, Commander." It was the Admiral from the debriefing. He stood at the far end of the platform, surrounded by elite guards. His expression was cold. "That being is the future of the Alliance." "Stand down." Trent stepped forward, rifle raised. "That being is a prisoner, not a future." The Admiral's eyes hardened. "Do you know what humans are capable of, Captain? Do you know what terrifies every species in this galaxy? It is not your weapons. It is your will. Your kind cannot be broken, so we will harness it, through this hybrid, and never fear again." Tarek's voice echoed across the bay. "You cannot harness fire without being burned." The Admiral frowned. "Then you will burn with it." He gestured to his soldiers. "Open fire." The flame awakens, blinding light filled the room as weapons fired. Tarek and Trent dived behind cover, returning stun fire. Sparks flew, metal screamed. The hybrid stood slowly, its body glowing brighter. "Stop," it said. The air vibrated. The energy around it pulsed like a heartbeat. One by one, the soldiers froze, their weapons sparking and failing. The hybrid's eyes burned like twin stars. "No more control," it said softly. "No more experiments." A wave of invisible force swept through the room, pushing everyone back but not harming them. The Admiral fell to his knees, his face pale with fear. The hybrid turned to Tarek and Trent. "You risked everything to free me." Why? Tarek met its gaze. "Because we made you. We owed you the truth," Trent added quietly, "and because no one should own the flame." For a moment, silence filled the bay. Then the hybrid's light dimmed. "Then I will leave. The galaxy must forget me." Before they could respond, its body shimmered into pure energy. In an instant, it vanished, leaving only a faint glow behind. The aftermath. The alarm stopped. The soldiers lowered their weapons, too stunned to speak. The Admiral lay unconscious. Trent looked around slowly. "Is it gone?" Tarek nodded. "No, it is free." Vora exhaled in relief. "Then what now?" Tarek looked at Trent. "Now we make sure no one ever tries this again." They destroyed the remaining data cores in the lab and escaped before reinforcements arrived. The Veil of Dawn and Trent's small ship flew together through the stars, silent and unseen. As they drifted beyond Alliance space, Tarek stood by the window once more. "Commander," Vora said softly, "do you think the hybrid will return?" Tarek's gaze remained fixed on the stars. "No, but one day the flame will. It always does, through humans, through anyone who refuses to give up." Trent's voice came through the comm. "You know, Commander, you talk about humans as if we're legends." Tarek gave a small, tired smile. "Perhaps you are." The two ships separated quietly, each heading toward a different horizon. The war was long over, but the lessons of humanity still echoed. That courage was not born from strength, but from heart. And in the endless dark of space, that heart still burned. Weeks passed since the events at Helios Station. The stars remained silent, yet the galaxy was no longer the same. Rumors spread across the systems. Whispers of a hybrid that had disappeared, of a commander who defied the Alliance, and of humans who could never be tamed. Commander Tarek sat alone in the command deck of the Veil of Dawn. The stars outside shimmered like distant memories. He had seen many wars, many deaths, but none haunted him as much as the quiet voice of the hybrid before it vanished. "The galaxy must forget me." He replayed those words in his mind again and again. The more he thought about them, the more he realized the hybrid hadn't been afraid of dying. It had been afraid of becoming another weapon. Returned to the shadows, Lieutenant Vora entered the command deck quietly. She carried a data tablet filled with reports. "Commander, the Alliance is searching every sector. They've called us fugitives," she said softly. Tarek didn't look away from the stars. "Expected? We broke their illusion of control. Where will we go now?" she asked. Tarek finally turned to her. His expression was calm, but his eyes were heavy. "To the outer colonies. There's a human outpost there, one that doesn't answer to the Alliance. Captain Trent will meet us." Vora nodded, though she looked uncertain. "Do you think we can trust him?" Tarek gave a faint smile. "He is human. Trusting him is a risk, but it's a risk worth taking." The meeting 3 days later, the Veil of Dawn arrived near a dusty world called Eden's Reach, a human frontier colony at the edge of known space. The planet was rough and unguarded, filled with settlers, engineers, and old soldiers who wanted peace. Captain Elias Trent waited for them in an abandoned mining dome. His human team stood nearby, watching cautiously as the alien ship landed. When Tarek stepped out, the two men faced each other in silence. The memory of Helios hung between them. Trent finally broke the quiet. "You made it out alive. I wasn't sure the Alliance would let you." "They tried," Tarek said, "but your people taught me something. How to keep fighting even when it seems hopeless." Trent chuckled softly. "I didn't think you'd call that a lesson." Tarek's expression softened slightly. "It is the only one worth remembering." The hidden data. They sat together inside the dome, studying the holographic map of Alliance territories. Trent placed a small crystal on the table. "I copied some files from Helios before we escaped. The Alliance wasn't just making one hybrid. They had plans for hundreds." Tarek's jaw tightened. "Hundreds? That would destroy the balance across every world." "Exactly," Trent said. "They want to use human will, that flame as you call it, and mix it with other species' strengths. They think it will make them unstoppable." Vora leaned forward. "What can we do?" Trent looked between them. "Expose them. Broadcast the truth to every corner of the galaxy." Tarek shook his head. "The Alliance will erase it before it spreads. We need something stronger. Something no one can deny." He paused, then looked toward the sky through the broken dome ceiling. "We need the hybrid." The return of the flame that night, Tarek couldn't sleep. He stood outside under the twin moons of Eden's Reach, staring at the dark horizon. The wind whispered softly through the rocks, carrying the sound of far-off machines. He closed his eyes, thinking of all he had seen. Human soldiers fighting until their last breath. Human engineers rebuilding cities from dust. Human children laughing in war-torn ruins. How could a species so fragile be so unbreakable? Suddenly a soft glow appeared in front of him. The air rippled like water, and a familiar figure began to take shape. The hybrid. Its body shimmered with faint energy, no longer confined by machines. Tarek stepped forward, stunned. You came back." The hybrid tilted its head gently. "I never left. I am a memory now. Part of every signal, every network, every mind that remembers me." Tarek's voice trembled. "Why return? You said the galaxy must forget." "I see now that forgetting is not peace," the hybrid said. "The flame cannot be buried. It can only guide." A new decision inside the dome. Trent and Vora rushed in when they saw the light outside. Their eyes widened as they saw the glowing being. Trent lowered his weapon slowly. "You're real. You're alive." The hybrid looked at him. "I am energy and thought. I cannot die as you do. But I remember you, Captain Trent, the human who refused to surrender." Trent scratched his chin. "That's just what we do." The hybrid smiled faintly, then turned serious. "The Alliance's plan must be stopped. I can help you, but it will cost me my freedom forever." Tarek frowned. "What do you mean?" "If I release all their hidden data to the galaxy, I will burn out completely. My essence will dissolve." Silence filled the room. Trent's voice was heavy. "There must be another way." The hybrid shook its head. "There isn't. If I do this, the truth will live on, through you, through all who fight for it." Tarek felt something deep inside, something strange and painful. "You sound like a human." The hybrid's eyes glowed brighter. "Perhaps that is my greatest flaw, or my greatest gift. The broadcast hours later, under the dark sky, the group gathered on the ridge above the colony. The hybrid floated in the center, surrounded by small transmitters they had built from salvaged parts. Trent checked the system. Once you start, every ship, every colony, every world connected to the network will receive your message. The hybrid nodded. Then it begins. Its body shone brighter and brighter until it was like a small star. Data streams poured out like rivers of light flowing across the sky. Voices echoed. Records of experiments, confessions from officers, secret orders from the Alliance High Council. The truth spread like wildfire. And then the hybrid spoke, its voice reaching across every world. To all who hear this, I am not a weapon. I am the reflection of humanity's spirit. Born from fear and hope, you cannot chain what you do not understand. Humanity is not your enemy. They are your mirror, showing what you could become if you dared to feel, to fight, and to dream. The light grew so bright that everyone shielded their eyes. Then, as suddenly as it began, it was gone. The hybrid had vanished. The galaxy reacts within hours. The galaxy erupted. News channels, pirate broadcasts, and independent systems all carried the same message. The Alliance denied it at first, but the evidence was too strong. Citizens demanded answers. Protests spread across dozens of worlds, and through it all, one name whispered everywhere. The alien commander who stood with humans to reveal the truth. The final conversation days later, Trent prepared to leave for Earth. His ship was old and scarred, but he smiled as he packed his gear. Tarek came to see him off. The two soldiers, one human, one alien, stood side by side under the rising sun. Trent said quietly, "Guess this is goodbye, Commander." "For now," Tarek said. "But our paths will cross again. The galaxy remembers what we did." Trent smiled. "You know, when I first met you, I thought your kind couldn't understand us. Turns out you understand us better than most humans." Tarek's tone was calm but warm. "Perhaps understanding is not about blood or form. It is about choice." Trent nodded. "You really are learning." The two shook hands firmly, a human gesture that had once confused Tarek, now filled with meaning. As Trent's ship lifted off, Tarek watched it disappear into the sky. For the first time in many years, he felt peace. The legacy of the Flame Weeks later, Tarek recorded his final report into the ship's log. His voice was calm and clear. "To any who find this, I was once a soldier who feared humanity. I believed their strength was dangerous, their courage reckless. But I was wrong. Their strength does not come from rage, it comes from hope. Their courage is not born of hate, it is born of love. I have seen the heart of their flame, and I understand now. To be human is to never surrender, not to enemies, not to despair, not even to fate." He closed the log and looked at the stars one last time. The galaxy was vast, full of darkness and danger. But somewhere out there, a small spark of light still burned, the same flame that had changed him forever. Tarek smiled faintly. "May the stars remember what humanity taught me," he whispered. "That hope, even when small, can light the whole universe." The ship's engines roared softly as the veil of dawn drifted into the endless sea of stars, carrying with it the story of one alien soldier and the unstoppable will of humankind.